This is a story. It's called The Snow Leopard. When I began working, first of all the story came to me, and then I had to find the pictures to go with it. And the way that I usually work to begin with is in a sketchbook, and this is very much thinking aloud, trying to find the story, doing thumbnail sketches that go with the words, trying to leave enough space for the words, working it all out. So the thumbnail sketches come first, and then what I would do is a thing called a dummy book, and this dummy book was very complete in its sketches. Making sure there was enough space for the words. I went to visit a woman who had 17 leopards in her garden, spent a day sketching, painting the leopards that she had, watching them move, seeing the size of them, seeing them sleep, the colour of their eyes, the scent of them, to try and get a sense of the snow leopard. And then I did the paintings for the book. High in the tallest mountains of the world lies the Murgic realm, a sacred place of magic and mystery where pure and powerful beings, Murgicans, dwell. Guardian spirits, they tend their flocks of mountain sheep and ibex and care for the sacred land. People enter the Murgic realm only with their permission, and they take the shape of an animal, and this is the story of one such Murgican, the snow leopard. From the beginning of time, out of silence, snow leopard sang the stars to life, the sun to rise and the moon to wax and wane. High above the hidden valley, her song clothed the world in white and built a crackling fortress of snow buttressed with ice to keep all things safe and secret. High in the mountains, the sacred cat walked alone, cloaked in her shadow-dappled fur. Crisp snow sparkled in icy stars beneath her huge paws, and all the while she sang. Down in the valley, the child slept. In her dreams, she heard the ghost cat's secret music and saw the shadow of her dappled fur. Snow Leopard wove words of protection, songs of hiding, a magic spell to keep the hidden valley safe from the world. But time was passing, season upon season, and age creeps over all in time. So Snow Leopard changed her song to a spell of finding. She searched in her heart and called to find the next singer, the one who would come after her. And while she searched, the world crept into the hidden valley. And down in the valley, the child slept on and felt the change in the Snow Leopard's song. Down in the valley, soldiers came in search of gold and slaves. They came with fire and fear, and the villagers fled. In the chaos, the sleeping girl was forgotten, and still she slept entranced, hearing only the song of the great ghost cat. Through the village, Snow Leopard prowled, veiled in the magic of her song. When she found the sleeping child, she wrapped her warmly in her thick dappled fur. Curled around the child, Snow Leopard remembered, centuries before, being human. The sleeping child woke wrapped in the fur of the Snow Leopard, feeling the warm breath of the spirit cat close on her skin, the singing cat of her dreams. She pushed her fingers deep into thick fur, and the cat stirred, rose, and leapt up to the high, wild mountains, with the child clinging tight on her back. Together they roamed the mountain tops, and together they walked through the forest, and the Snow Leopard sang her songs of the earth. She taught the child the songs of the valley, of the lark and the swift and the snowfinch and redstart. She showed her the paths of the sure-footed fox and the scrape where the hare hid hushed in the snow. She sang a song to protect the valley, to call the snow and ice, and the child's voice joined in harmony, and she listened and learned, and they circled the valley, singing their song together. Late in the night, while the soldiers were sleeping, the stealthy cats crept back to the village and into their dreams. Snow Leopard raged, not one cat but many, a snowstorm of leopards. As their dreams became nightmares, the soldiers woke and ran from the village they thought haunted by demons. Hearing the news that the soldiers had gone, the villagers returned with their prayer flags and lullabies to blow in the wind and bring peace to the valley. Encircling the valley, child and leopard called to the snow, and a blizzard of white formed fresh fortress walls, hiding their world in mist and in memory. Time passed. The child learned the moods of the valley, how to still her mind and become one with the place, how to ride on the thermals with eagle and falcon, to watch for the moon bear, the barrel and wolf. Snow Leopard purred richly at these changes. Her teaching finished, her time changed too. Late one evening, in a cave of soft mosses high in the mountains, where the air was thin and the stars sparkled in the sky and the snow, the child took the great leopard's head in her hands. Snow Leopard licked the child's face, rough cat tongue against soft skin, purring her final spirit song, and as she licked, child became leopard, thick-furred and wild-eyed, mottled like shadows, spirit cat. As the old leopard finished her song, she leapt from the mountains and into the star-filled sky, her dapple coat blending with the stars of the Milky Way, and her song changed to a whisper of starlight. And down in the mountains, the young leopard looked up at the stars mirrored in her blue cat's eyes, heard the whisper, and began a new song.
Dreaming, hearing her song, singing, keeping me warm, hiding down in the depths, finding someone to take a secret. 'Cause 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 eyes, clinging child, singing her new song. Demons, destructive dreams, soldiers, leave us in peace. Blizzard, hide us again. Mist and memory blend. Snow leopard, protecting songs of the earth. Warm spirit eyes, clinging child, singing her new song. Snow leopard, protecting songs of the earth. Warm spirit eyes, clinging child, singing her new song. Dreaming, hearing her song, singing, keeping me warm, hiding down in the depths, finding someone to take the secret, hiding down in the depths, finding someone to take the secret.
Perfect. Hello and welcome. I am here with Jackie Morris. My name is Marissa Niranjan. I am the Deputy Director for the Snow Leopard Trust, and I am thrilled to be sharing the screen today with the most talented author and illustrator and artist, Jackie Morris, who lives in a small cottage by the sea in Wales, UK, where the cats come and go. And I have to say that when I do think of you, Jackie, I think of magic every time. Your creations are so captivating and ethereal that they literally take my breath away. And honestly, one of my favorite things to do is when we go to events and have your book out, you know, to our outreach events, you honestly can hear the audible gasp when people open your book, and it just gets more and more as they flip through the beautiful pages. So the book I am talking about, of course, is The Snow Leopard, which we will talk a little bit about as we go here. But I just want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, and can't wait to get to know you a little bit more, and for our supporters as well. So I'll start off by asking, I remember just recently I was reading through some of the things on your website, Jackie, and saw a post where you had described books as medicine and how some projects feel a little more medicinal than others. And I really loved that sentiment and was hoping that you could maybe talk a bit about what indeed makes a project feel healing for you, which is something I think the world needs right now.
Yes, and hello to you too, and thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day here in West Wales. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's a light breeze. Yesterday, the whole of Britain was covered in sunshine, apart from our small corner.
Oh, well.
There was was just like a sweep of dragon's breath along the coast, and it was really cold. It was astonishing.
Yeah.
But also very beautiful. So very hot outside, but lovely. I guess, as well as being a maker of books, I'm a reader of books, and for me, books are they're a place of healing. They're a place of learning. They're a place of information. They're a way of stepping into somebody else's shoes as well, because you can live someone else's life in a book. And you can travel without leaving home, which is something I quite like doing. When I'm thinking about making books as well, the last few that I have made, do you feel yourself there is a rising sorrow that seems to run through the earth, like in the same way that a fungus does? It's like this weight of sorrow, it's a weight of loss that some of us feel, I think, and some of us don't.
Yeah.
Some of us care about, and some of us care less. So I guess what I try to do with books that I make, with the Snow Leopard, I was trying to make snow leopards visible, which is strange for a curious ghost cat, isn't it? You can almost stand next to in the mountains and not see.
Yeah.
And there are lots of different themes that run through that book, including loss and bereavement, which is, again, loss, bereavement and transformation. All of these are things that run through my work, I guess. And yes, books as medicine. I recently made a book called The Unwinding, and in it, it has a prescription to read the book slowly, take one story at a time. Doesn't reduce the potency of the stories if you share them with other people.
Yeah.
In fact, it makes it stronger. And there's no danger of overdosing by reading too many. And I know several people who work in the medical profession who just went, oh my God, yes. It's like the only thing that you can overdose on that makes you better. So that was lovely. And I guess that's what I was thinking. It seems as if there is so much anxiety in the world. And that some days it's hard to breathe. Some days it's hard to dream and think. And just trying to help people find a space to breathe, to rest their mind in. That seems to be more of my job these days.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I just got goosebumps. That's amazing. And so true. And really, I think that space that you provide and that creative space too, just to, like you said, to be where you can process and transform a bit, I think is really, really powerful.
Yeah. I think one of the things is, I guess I paint what I want to be. So when I was a small child, I really wanted to be an artist, and I was told that I couldn't be an artist because that was something that, only special people do that. Which is like somebody telling you as a child that you're not special. I guess they hadn't really thought that one through.
Right.
I also wanted to be a bear, and nobody told me that I couldn't be a bear when I grew up. So I'm still trying. I would actually really love a tail. So part of the reason I love the snow leopard is the tail.
Absolutely.
Oh my Lord, tail envy, big time.
Same.
Yeah. So transformation, when you make a book, it's almost like making a piece of theatre that's on paper. You're making a picture book, something to be shared. And when you open it, it's like opening the curtains of a theatre. And when you have a book, my copy of the Snow Leopard down here, I love having books that are kind of big enough to hide.
It's amazing.
So you open a theatre and you share it, and these are places where adults and children meet. There are very few places like that. So the books that I do, they're written for both. they're written for the child. How do you explain this? I think grown-ups forget that once upon a time they used to be children.
Yeah.
They also don't accept that at some point they will be old people. That's the only way we live in the now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's through two forms of denial, So what I try to do is sing to that memory of the child that's inside everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel that. I mean, you feel that when you just look at your images and like look into the soul of them. I think that really comes through in a big way. And it's interesting. I know I read that in your on your website and some other interviews about people and your instructors telling you that you couldn't be an artist, and that just to me is for a myriad of reasons, like you just mentioned, is shocking that somebody could say that. But then also like just wondering, I think that's something a lot of people hear, like you can never be or you will never be. And how do you sort of push past that? And just, I'm so glad you didn't listen, first of all, and that inner child stayed there and fought for that dream.
Yeah, one of the things for me was that I've always loved to draw. And I guess when I was a child and I was drawing, I didn't know that people had jobs. So I'd always explain this as when I was about 6, I watched my father drawing a lapwing, and I knew that day that I wanted to be an artist. Now, as I've kind of unpicked that, my 6-year-old self didn't know the word artist.
Right.
All my 6-year-old self saw was this way of taking a pencil and marking a piece of paper so that at one time there's nothing there, and then a bird lands on it using a pencil. That's what I wanted to do. The word artist was not something that was even in my consciousness. When you go to school, you know, more and more these days, school seems to be thought of as a place where you're groomed for work, for getting a job, not for getting an education, not for being taught to think for yourself. It's almost like treating people like algorithms, whereas actually you have these minds, these amazing children who have these bright minds and these brilliant ideas, and they're not held back by doubt until we put that into them. So that's what I wanted to do. And then I realized that, you know, there are these jobs, and some people's job is artists. And I decided that money wasn't that important. So long as I had enough to live on, that would be okay. And I had a part-time job, and then all the rest of the time I drew. And I have been the most lucky person so far, because from the age of 27, I packed in my part-time work and all I've done is paint. And it's not been easy, you know, that I've been hungry, I've been scared, especially when I had children. And it looked as if I wasn't going to earn enough money, because when you've got children, then it's hard to get a part-time job and to paint. Struggling to earn a living from books, really struggling. You know, people look at your work and there's an ease about it when it's in a book. To understand what is behind that is harder, and you almost don't want to show your workings out. But it hasn't been easy. But I tell you what, you can always work and get more money, but you can't have your time back. And there's very little that I would change going backwards if I could change something, which is quite good.
It's quite good. I was just about to say that in of itself is such a testament. And I love what you said too about kids and their bright minds, and how, I mean, we're all finding ourselves in this, you know, kind of pandemic state of being a little more inward, and like our schools are closed, right? And I remember this was like right when this kind of lockdown started, and I was walking with my kiddos and feeling really overwhelmed about the pressure of that and how I was going to create that structure of school. And we walked past this garden, and there was this somebody in our neighborhood, this little like wood chip that looked just like a pig snout that was like sitting on top. It was a root, I think, that had been cut. And my son noticed it. He's like, "Oh, that looks like a pig snout." And so I like looked down, like kind of outside of my head, right? And was like, oh, it looks exactly like a pig snout. What do you think happened? Like, is there a pig there? And then we came up with these stories, right, about, oh, maybe he was in his house and they decided to build a house. So they started building on top of it and he was trying to get his way out. And, or that he was just like living and eating the roots and he had come up from air. So, and the whole day we made up stories and drew what that might look like. And then that really was a good lesson for me of that it's, it's at school and learning is everywhere, right? And it doesn't have to be in this certain structure that forms a certain way of being.
And also for myself, I feel like if I'm working properly, then I learn from every painting that I'm doing. So you kind of there's no stop, there's no end to learning.
Yeah.
And still with books as well, so much. So it's astonishing, isn't it, when you realize your own ignorance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just how, yeah. And the other thing that I love is I live in a very tiny hamlet. There's no street lights, and at night when the sky is clear, you can stand in the garden and see the Milky Way, and just look up at so much, and it makes you feel utterly insignificant, which I actually revel in that. I think it's just
Yes.
beautiful how small we are in this world.
Yeah.
And even as a species, how small we are as a species, but what damage we've done.
Yeah.
And it takes, our children are speaking up now and saying, what are you doing
What have
to
you
us?
done? Yeah, I know. It's true. It's true. Yeah. And how do we course correct at this point, and that I think that insignificance too is very freeing in some way. And also, how do we, build upon that to come together and make things right.
And together, all I see from, I don't really want to talk politics because the kind of politics that comes from our government is such a farce these days. It's not real politics.
Yeah.
It's so divorced from humanity, it's just astonishing. And it seems that they strive to divide when actually we need to be more together than ever.
Absolutely.
We need to learn from our ancestors who had better ways of living, and we need to be good ancestors. That's something Robert Macfarlane always says. He talks about what kind of ancestors are we being that we should leave this for the people of the future. One of the things I know that I will probably never ever in my lifetime witness a wild snow leopard walking in the wild, but just to know that they are there makes my life much richer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not about me, it's about them.
Yeah, I love that. And even your image of looking up into the stars, and we were talking about the snow leopard and its magnificent tail, right? Like when you were saying that, I was thinking of this mountainscape and this sort of silhouette of a snow leopard, right? And the stars above it. And we always say, like when I'm writing emails, and I mean it, is this idea of like, we do this so like, snow leopards sort of reign in that mountain ecosystem for generations to come, not even about the now, but, hundreds of years from now. And I know Helen, our founder, this was almost 40 years ago, right, had that same dream and wanted to protect that dream, and so kind of founded this organization. So that's
and I think there are many at the moment who would spin the story that it's too late,
right,
and that's almost like it's too late, we might as well not bother,
right. Yeah, no, I know exactly. It's like, what's worth fighting for?
Absolutely. I mean, it's too late. I can't buy into that. That is the laziest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Really. And it is astonishing when you see the natural world, how a tiny seed can break a pavement. When you see, it's not the language that's used by people who would dominate is like when you see nature fight back. It's not fighting back. It's got no interest in us.
Yeah.
fighting us.
Yeah.
It's just being itself.
Yep.
It's the kind of dominant language that has got us into the situation that we're in needs to go, really.
Yeah.
I need to learn from the wisdom of trees at the moment. Quite loving forests and the sea.
I love that. It's beautiful. Absolutely.
What are we supposed to be talking about? We're
I know, I know, I know. I could just, this is incredible to me. And I feel like there's so much in there to think about and unpack. And I know I'm going to watch this back and just like, oh yes, like writing things down. It's the little pearls of wisdom that come up. It's so gorgeous. I'm wondering too, do you know, we talked about the snow leopard a little bit, but can you remember the first time, I was thinking about this also for myself, is the first time that you saw a snow leopard or your first encounter with the snow leopard, whether it was on TV or in a book, or and what that meant to you, or what kind of sparked that, like, this creature is magnificent?
I can't remember the first time. I think it was photographs, possibly. Maybe film. I don't have a television and I haven't watched much television in my life. But there was a coincidence that one of David Attenborough's series was on when I was working on the Snow Leopard book. And there was, actually, it was just after. And it was a very beautiful piece of footage. And I managed to get in touch with the filmmakers and talk to them about it. So interesting talking to them. Because publishing is not the most well-paid job, you know, I would have loved to have had some kind of grants to go to the Himalayas and find snow leopards, but instead I went to a very small town in England called Welwyn Garden City, and there was a lady there who had 17 leopards in her back garden. She was a charity. She was picking up cats that were being thrown out of zoos, would have been put down. And she had a family of 4 snow leopards in her garden. And I'd messaged her, and then I phoned her and I asked if I could just come and sit and watch them for a while, take photographs. It was very important for me that I actually saw the size of them, because they're smaller than I imagined.
Absolutely, yeah, they are.
Yeah, smaller than a tiger.
By a bit, quite a bit, actually. It's funny, like they are the smallest of the big cats for sure, but their tail, right? It's that tail that gives them the presence.
And the size of the paws.
Yeah.
The coloration, the shape of the face, you know, when I was doing the cover, it took me 3 or 4 goes. The first attempt looked like a white tiger. The second attempt looked like a sick hamster. And the third attempt came out back at you with that kind of presence, that kind of understanding. That
yes,
yeah,
I love that.
I still have the other 2.
I love that trajectory.
Yeah.
White tiger, sick hamster, snow leopard.
It's shame it went from white tiger to hamster.
I mean, you never know how things are going to turn out, right? We all have our path.
No, I struggled. And what was strange actually was I had assumed that would be the easy one, and the hard one would be the child, because the cover on the back of is the child, and I find human face is much harder.
Yeah.
And I did that in a day. Straight on, just like that. Yes.
That's amazing. I love it. It's like, yes. Yeah.
Oh. And I was dreading that one. But just smelling them as well. You know, they have a sense to them.
Absolutely.
Watching them move. Although, to be honest, they were a bit like my cats in that they curled up.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Well, and we were just talking about your cats before we got on, but I love the description of like your home where cats kind of come and go. And you have 2 cats now?
No, I have 3.
3?
I have still. There was a time when I had 6 cats and 5 of them were ginger.
And
So
you had a blog where you talked about them, I
yeah,
remember.
and
Okay.
they've always walked with me. I live in quite a wild place, and they just come up the hill. But now I have also a silver cat called Spit, who looks like a. If you took a snow leopard and you put it in a washing machine on a very hot wash
Yes.
and felted it, that's what Spit's like. She's like a tiny little snow leopard, and then
Gosh.
the white cat is a little bit like that too, but
Yeah.
he's a little bit more liquid in his movements.
Oh,
Um, and they both love to walk. Just amazing.
it's incredible. Do you think they appreciate what you do to protect their wild cousins? Do they
Yeah,
realize when you're
so no, I
painting a
don't
snow
think
leopard?
they care actually. I
No.
don't think. I don't think they care, but they're cats. They're just like,
It's,
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of par for the course.
They're always trying to get to my studio, and my daughter's cat now lives with me as well. He's called Fishheads, except he has a posh name as well. It's called Zephyr.
Oh, I love.
But Fishheads actually comes in through the skylight windows in the studio.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's,
and I can't have them in my studio because they will walk on your paper. So this morning I was painting, and the cat was actually lying on half of my paper, which was good because I wanted, it was one of those paintings that I needed a lot of white space in. So
yeah.
he was looking after that bit.
Oh, that's amazing.
Doesn't
So
happen
it's,
very often.
yeah, see, just like following in line, doing its job. And now, yes, now you'll always have that little imprint, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just making
Oh,
sure I do it properly.
I love it. See, looking out for us, those
Yeah,
animals.
yeah,
And you mentioned too that going on walks and sort of being by the sea. And I feel like there's such a beauty in your books, like of the natural world, right, through animals and the landscapes. Where would you say you feel most connected to the natural world? Or is there a place when you're there, I guess either in body or in mind, when you're like, oh, like this is that soul
yeah.
place?
I love home. Um, I love home very much, and it's such a part of me. I've been here now for 30 years. There's a Welsh word which is hiraeth, which is untranslatable, and it's like a kind of homesick and longing that you feel when you're somewhere else,
I love that.
for a place. Uh, the top of the hill from here, if I walk up through fields, and then there's rocky outcrops with very old stone walls, hundreds of years old, dragonflies, merlin, buzzards, and raven, always raven. Um, I love the sound of the wind in a raven's wings and that deep voiced call that they do. There's all kinds of things. And then if you walk straight down from there, there's a beach where the seals breed. And when I was a kid, I used to watch the turning seasons by swallows coming and going, and other things arriving. Here it's so, what's happening now is the swallows are just leaving, so the sky just has one, two, or three, maybe a few martins, and then the sniper coming in. And it's just this balance and turning. I love hearing the first cuckoo in spring. It's such a cliche. And skylarks, oh my lord.
I love it.
So the world kind of moves on that, and the summer and the autumn come in when the seals come in to breed and pop on the beaches. And
Amazing.
yeah.
Oh, I do. Okay, if there is any whisper of anything in the future, I mean, hopefully there will not be of anything pandemic like we had said earlier, but I think I might have to make my way there and try to get stuck there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is, and to say like home too is a place to feel most connected to a natural world. I think that's such a gift, and
So lucky, especially at the moment.
it's
I'm
amazing.
so aware, with this year has been dreadful. So many people have died, and there have been people who have been stuck in their flat with no garden. And I lost my father in March, early March,
I'm so
just
sorry, Jackie.
before the lockdown. So we had it's like a blessing now. My mum was with him,
Yeah.
um, and then I'd been there for a while, helping mum, taking her to hospital and back, and dad died. We had his funeral and then came back here. And here, just here, to be in your own place. I brought my mother with me because I couldn't leave her. She's 65 years married to my father. And
life.
Yeah, so my lockdown was walking the hills where I live, watching the birds, breathing again, and getting to know my mother, which was an astonishing thing. Getting to know my mother as a person, not as child and mother, but as two grown-ups. So I'm very fortunate, really. She also saw me working for the first time, and right at the start of lockdown, I said, I'm going to have some time off. Still waiting for me to do it. So, yeah.
That's and it's to again, it just kind of brings us back to that transformation, right? This is a whole new with that grieving, healing, transforming as a family too, what that means in this next phase. And to be able, is she still with you then, your mama, or is she
she's gone home now, but and we're off to see her at the weekend, and she's okay. It's good. It gave her space.
Absolutely.
As well, and
absolutely. That's amazing.
Early days, yeah.
And I know you are also busy. You have a book that is coming out very soon, which is probably why maybe hopefully getting away for the weekend to relax a little bit. But can you tell us a little bit about your new project that will be released into the world? Oh my gosh.
It's called The Lost Spells. It's very small. You can put it in your pocket and take it everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's very, this is the landscape where I live, really.
Oh my gosh, Jackie.
And it has barn owls, which I love. These are my favourite pages, just in case Robert, who wrote it, is watching. It's written by Robert McFarlane. It's very beautiful, and there are words, look, as well.
Oh my gosh, it's stunning.
It's kind of, these are spells to summon up the natural world into the minds and the mouths of children, and to be shared with their parents. And so learning the shape of birds. This is
oh my word.
Holding the earth in its wings. We also have moth, and moth is very beautiful.
I was just going to ask if those were moths that I can kind of peek on the inside cover. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The first part of moth says, moth. This one soft word falls so far short of what the moth world means, of moths in number birthed by dark to flock round torch and lamp and porch, together thickening air to froth, then cloth, then weather.
Oh my gosh.
We've lost so many. I think we've lost something like 70% of our moths.
Yeah.
The numbers, we cannot keep going in that direction, that it's unsustainable for life.
Look at that picture.
And if we think that we can get along quite fine without birds, thank you very much, then we're not going to be getting on very well.
That's exactly right. Oh my gosh, the foxtail. That is stunning. And
you could actually wear this book as a mask.
I was going to say, yes, exactly. See, a mask is a requirement for each project, just in case.
Yeah, so that's we weren't supposed to be working on this book. That was the thing. We were supposed to be doing a book of birds, which I'm now back to working on. But this kind of, somehow, it was quite a persistent creature that elbowed its way into our lives. And it's published in the US and Canada by House of Anansi.
Okay.
I think maybe at the end of October with you, but 1st of October here.
Okay, Brilliant. Yeah, I think, again, even that image you showed of the bird like holding the world in its wings, right? And we think of like, you know, just this like presence of these animals like holding the world within them. And then books like that, also breathing in that natural world so that we can do that in our own homes too, right? Like you said, it's this idea of, you know, reading those words and those captivating images. And even if we can't like walk right now outside as much, like here in the West Coast, we're very kind of smoked in, but we have these little escapes that we can keep that hope and keep that enchantment and that connection to the natural world through your stories and your illustrations. And that alone is too such a gift to be able to preserve. And it isn't too late, right? Like this is the time, like we need to show up and work with communities and work together as a community to
and also learn
protect.
from those communities, because they have such wisdom. We have so much to learn from other cultures, from all cultures, from the past, to move forward into the present in wisdom, not in ignorance.
Yes, I love
Certainly
that.
not arrogance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To move forward in wisdom. I love that. Well, Jackie, thank you so much. I know you're busy. I want to give you time to be able to unwind before you head off for your weekend, but appreciate you being here so much and for being part of our event. Not just, you know, in October, but really since the beginning, you've been part of the Snow Leopard Trust and sharing your creativity and heart with us. So I'm just so grateful to you for that, and for all of the other incredible species that you support and bring life to in a way that really is unique to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute joy to speak to you.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll do it again soon, hopefully. Okay, take good care, Jackie.
Okay.
Bye-bye.